Good morning to you, Trinidad Tobago, on this Tuesday, the 3rd of March, 2026, and we start the morning brew with some breaking news. This coming in literally just about an hour and a half ago, a statement by the Honorable Kamala Persad-Bissassa, SC, Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, on the declaration of a state of emergency effective Tuesday 3rd March, 2026. It reads, the National Security Council met at the Diplomatic Center on Monday, March 2nd, 2026, and received security briefings from the Commissioner of Police, Alistair Guevara, the Chief of Defense Staff, Don Polo, and Head of the Strategic Services Agency, SSA, Alicia Henry. The NSC, National Security Council, noted that following the end of the previous state of emergency on January 31st, 2026, there has been an increase in violent criminal activity across the country, most of which has been carried out by members of organized criminal gangs. The NSC further noted that several of these acts of criminality have resulted in multiple deaths due to mass shootings, and that the continuance of reprisal shootings against criminal gangs, if left unchecked, it would endanger public safety. The NSC was informed that intelligence recently gathered indicates credible threats to attack police officers, prison officers, and other members of the security and legal services. The Prime Minister goes on to say she previously warned the criminal gangs and detainees released from prison that decent law-abiding citizens are fed up of their criminality, and if they cannot behave themselves, she would have no hesitation in having another SOE declared. The statement goes on to say, violent gangs will be returned straight to prison, and at this time, their friends and family who aid their criminality would accompany them. The Prime Minister reiterates that if criminals want to terrorize law-abiding citizens and their families, she will do everything legally possible to terrorize criminals and those who aid and abet them. In light of the foregoing and in all the circumstances, the NSC resolved to immediately advise Her Excellency, the President, to declare that a state of emergency exists in Trinidad and Tobago, effective from the 3rd of March, 2026. This measure is consistent with your government's zero-tolerance approach to crime and criminal gangs, as demonstrated by numerous successful strategic operations conducted by the TTPS and the armed forces over the last 10 months. Legislation introduced in Parliament to empower and protect law-abiding citizens, and ongoing reforms to the criminal justice system. The final part of the statement says, your government will continue to utilize all available resources to ensure that gains we have achieved in significantly reducing the murder rates and the incidents of violent crime against citizens are not reversed and overturned by those who are determined to inflict death, hardship, and torment upon our people. That's the end of the statement. A statement by the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, the Honorable Kamala Persad-Bissassa, SC, on this state of emergency development. In terms of the intimate details, we will get, I am quite certain, all the facts later on today, whether this state of emergency involves a curfew, what are the restrictions, what's the perimeters and limitations, as it were. And we stand by, of course, once that particular development is about to unfold, we, I'm sure, will go live and bring you extensive coverage right here on CNC3 and throughout our social media platforms. Jason Williams signing on this rather, I would say, serious Tuesday morning. You know, normally I'll run in and a big smile on my face. I'm still smiling, obviously. I'm alive. We have life, most importantly. But based on uptick of crime and criminality. Up to last evening, we heard of a murder in the East. Now, whether this state of emergency is the remedy, that's another discussion, and it's obviously always up for debate, and many will weigh in, I'm sure, when we open the lines later on this morning. But we can confirm, based on this statement, the breaking news coming out of Port of Spain on this Tuesday morning. We are currently, or at least based on, once we get all the details later, very much back into a state of emergency. Let's head to the front page and see what else is happening and what else is making the news on this Tuesday morning. Too close for comfort. Trini in the Middle East on edge as U.S.-led missile strikes against Iran intensify. Man say ready to come home. Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you're so far removed and you're in the middle of this hot zone, many are trying to return, and it's a nightmare at the airport. I understand it's a flight logistical nightmare going on right now. A matter of fact, even the West Indies team that lost, our men in maroon, who lost on Sunday, they're trying to reroute and get out of India, because usually those flights take you from India sometimes to the UAE, and then there's that flight from the UAE sometimes right back to continental, the USA. All flights now to the UAE, to Qatar, to Bahrain, Oman, all those countries there in the Gulf. It's a hot zone at this point in time. About 16 countries, from what I'm looking at the news yesterday, international news, are engaged, whether actively or directly or indirectly. And the Gulf is hot. And many of our Trinbagonians, all the expats who work there in the aviation field, who work out there in hospitality, oil and gas, energy sector, we have lots of Trinis out there. I met a Trini in Bahrain when I went in 2019 who's into solar systems. Really nice guy, took us around to Manama. We saw the place. I met another Trini when I was there in Qatar in 2019. So we had Trinis all over. And they always would tell me, I remember distinctly, they were really proud of how safe and secure. So much so, the gentleman from Trinidad who lives in Bahrain did not even have a key for his front door. He would just, I remember we going to his residence, beautiful residence, amazing spread. And yeah, he just opened his door and went in, and he said, well, there's no need to even lock the door, such the level of safety in Bahrain. Obviously, it's a different scenario today as they brace themselves for the uncertainty of war, and obviously with Bahrain, Qatar, all these countries just mentioned, being host nations in terms of having U.S. Military assets in their particular space. It's going to be a really a ticklish couple of days, weeks, and well, I hope not months and years to come. But it's really interesting time. And speaking about that particular development in the Middle East, Mariano Brown will check in this morning to discuss the SOE first and foremost, and the economy, and a little bit later on this U.S.-Israel-Iran war and the impact on not only the global economy but what could potentially take place for Trinidad and Tobago. Because the Saudis would have shut down their particular refinery. Qatar would have shut down their LNG plant, from what we understand. Lots going on. Even the movement of goods and all the major movement via the ocean, that is at a kind of a halt also. So there's a halt on the with what's happening in the sky, with what's happening in the waters. What's the impact? And obviously, Mariano being an economist, he could probably go through some of the layers and give us some clarity as to what we can expect. Also, I'm watching another development here. Government support of U.S. attacks careless and misaligned. That story here on page 6. That's a word coming from the head of the Islamic Missionaries Guild, Imtiaz Mohammed, who was a guest on the program here a couple of times. Oh my goodness. Again, this particular development so far away, but still the impact, people are feeling it locally. And we will, as mentioned earlier, discuss that. Dr. Garvin Hira will also step in to treat with the developments out there in the Middle East and the impact on regional security, and also to speak on the SOE that's been declared this morning. Let's head to the back page, see what's happening. Well done to the Young Warriors, 4-0 against St. Martin. That's right, the under-20s. 3 more points on the board, and it brings us to the final showdown. I believe it's against Costa Rica. That's our final game there, and we're taking us to the wire. Costa Rica on 7 points, TNT on 7 points, Bermuda on 5, Barbados on 1, and St. Martin on 1. So it's a do or die. It's all or everything in the final game against Costa Rica. We wish the under-20s the very best. And that's some action there from La Liga, where Real Madrid off the pace, looking very shaky after Barcelona. It's always a kind of Barca-Real fight for that La Liga title. Barca had a big win over the weekend. Yamal would have had a hat-trick. So they have been able to push even further on the La Liga table. And Real Madrid lost yesterday, 1-0 to Getafe. Who would have thought? 1-0 loss, Getafe victorious over Real Madrid. Let's head to the brief. Pagua celebrations back. That's right, in Barrackpore. That's right. Good morning, Barrackpore. We were down there. I remember Nakisha was at last year for some Get Something and Pave. Believe we have to return because the roads down there left much to be desired. So I feel it for my friends and family there in Barrackpore. But nonetheless, despite all of that, the Pagua celebrations return. A great story here on The Guardian, page 3. And I'm watching some youngsters here. Obviously, they're taking part in a competition there at Latchme Girls High School. I used to do maths lessons there back in the day. So, good morning. As mentioned, normally I'll run in and we'll keep it very light, but this morning was the first time I started the program on the seat in, I could safely say, years, because we're starting the morning with the breaking news that we are now, or at least on the process of being under another state of emergency. It's been declared. The details will be delivered to the nation later on today, and we here at CNC3 at Guardian Media would be on top of all the developments to give you in real time the latest. Stay tuned. Let's take that pause and we come back. Mariano Brown joins me to treat with the SOE, to treat with that war there in the Middle East and the impact on the economy. See you soon.
Magical Expressions Limited is the largest local importer and distributor of fresh cut stems, offering the widest range of beautiful flowers at the most affordable prices. Call us today at 701-6488 or visit our website to order. Gaming Express Limited is a premium importer and retailer of the highest quality brand name electronics. We stock the widest range of PlayStation, Nintendo Switch, Samsung and Apple devices and accessories. Visit us at Shop 52, Level 2 Gulf City Mall in San Fernando, or contact us by phone or WhatsApp message at 687-7480 or 301-9797 or 798-1280. Like our Facebook and Instagram pages for updates on products and services.
Welcome to Holiday Inn Express and Suites.
Do enjoy, Stacey. You want some coffee?
Can I have a
Perfect then.
That's exactly what we need.
Hi, the pool is this way.
Whatever you're here for, we're here for you. Stay smart at the Holiday Inn Express and Suites.
Kali Matha Astrology Center, Master Karthik. 35 years experience, Indian generation astrologer. He can discuss past, present, and future. He can advise on reading hand, face, and horoscope. He would give advice for all your problems. Special guidance for broken relationships, husband and wife disputes. Can advise on bringing back loved ones. Gives unbreakable protection. Call now 275-7489. Located in Arima, Port of Spain, Debe, Curep, Chaguanas, and San Fernando.
Economist Mariano Brown joins me on the Zoom line to treat with the breaking news of the state of emergency, the impact on our economy, and later on, indeed, get into details concerning what's happening in the Gulf and the, I would say, the global impact and regional and local impact of that particular war and development. Mariano, As per usual, great to see you. Thanks for the time.
Good morning. Good to see you too.
Well, we all woke this morning. We got up this morning to the news of a state of emergency. As to the details, we will find out, I'm sure, during the course of the day. But my first question to you, Mariano, based on our state of emergency strategy to impact any uptick in crime, because we have seen triple murders. There was a murder yesterday in Arima. Do you think the state of emergency in any way could assist when it comes to investor confidence here at home and more so abroad? What message does it say to investors outside of Trinidad that we are in this perpetual state of emergency?
Or that we don't have things under control. I think that's a critical issue. That we keep having to go back to states of emergency because under the normal arrangements don't seem to work. And what's also clear, what's also gives us difficulty is that the states of emergency have come with sort of very few restrictions in terms of the ability to move. So what extrajudicial powers that are being granted here that are used that aren't available under normal circumstances? And we've also seen that when we arrest people or detain people during a state of emergency, and the state of emergency ends, we go back to the status quo ante. So this is not sustainable. We can't, how many states of emergency we're going to have on an ongoing basis to deal with the normal basis of crime? This is not sustainable. We have to come to some very specific action plans in terms of how we're going to treat with the underworld. And a state of emergency is not sufficient. Right? How many people have we charged after we've detained them under state of emergency powers?
Well, based on the statement, it seems that they're saying some of the mass shootings we are seeing, it's reprisal and it's gang related. And obviously, when the place was a bit quiet, lots of the gangsters and those who are associated in that particular world would have been locked away, and they would have been locked away so tight that there was no communication. So clearly the place, the reasoning I would imagine is that the place was quiet when these men were locked away.
Well, if you know that those are the people and you're locking them away and it's quiet, then clearly, and you know that, what about your powers of being able to find evidence to keep them permanently locked up? Is that improved with a state of emergency, or is it just a band-aid to bring the crime rate down for a period, and then when the state of emergency and we go back to the same thing? This is not what we want is a permanent reduction in crime. Not a permanent state of emergency. I think, and that's what we have to talk about. We have to talk about policing capacity. We have to talk about the organizational changes and improvements that have to be made in the police service to deal with improving rates of detection, not prevention, but certainly rates of detection, and not only incarceration. That the fact that they'll win their case before the courts. I mean, that's a critical point. The one thing about re-airing the Brent Thomas case is it clearly demonstrates weaknesses, statistical weaknesses, logistical and what we would call weaknesses with regard to the police service in terms of getting the job done.
Well, we will stay on top of this story, Mariano, as the details unfold. We will carry all developments later on. I want to go further afield now and head to the Middle East. Again, another story that broke within the last couple of days. When I got up Saturday and I saw the development in local parlance, I hold my head and ball. I say, oh goodness, where are we going? And obviously, with the couple of days into this most unfortunate development, we are seeing where Qatar, they have closed down their operations. Saudi Arabia, based on a attack, I believe, within the last 24 hours also would have put a close on the operations. Lots of the ship lanes are closed off. Well, the air bridge in the Gulf, it's a no-go, logistical nightmare to get out. What impact would this have, firstly, on the region, the Gulf, and then by extension, the wider world, and more so Trinidad and Tobago?
Well, the closure of the Gulf is perhaps the most significant issue. Most significant issue because it affects the price of oil and the price of gas. I think the economics and has been pretty clear, and the logistics has also been pretty clear. What was not clear is what Iran's responses were going to be. And yesterday, well, over the weekend for certain, Iran extended its involvement, or let's put it this way, it treated all of the Gulf states, which have been friendly to the U.S. and from whom U.S. bases launched in those particular countries, and strikes were launched against Iran. It treated them as co-belligerents, and in the process, attacked 8 or 9 Gulf countries. I think the figure is closer to 11 countries. So in a sense, it has broadened the conflict very deeply and has created a significant threat, not merely to world peace, but to world economic positioning. Why? Because more than 20% of the world's energy or world's oil supply passes through the Gulf, and that's including gas. And that's of significance to Trinidad and Tobago from 2 points, the price of natural gas in particular, and the price of oil. The last war, when it started in 2022, led to a significant increase in prices in oil and gas, and certainly in gas derivatives, ammonia in particular, which ended Trinidad and Tobago's depression. It did not end Trinidad and Tobago's depression because prices went up. Trinidad didn't produce anymore, didn't do very much more. In fact, we still have a large number of plants closed. We still are challenged by the volume of natural gas that we produce. We've been declining. We're 40% below our highest point. And the only thing that we have on stream that will likely to change that for certain is the Manatee project, which is meant to come on stream somewhere in 2027. So immediately what it does, if prices go up, and we can expect prices to go up as it did in Europe yesterday by approximately 50%. This is the price of natural gas. So this is going to affect the world economy. The longer this war goes on, the greater the impact from an economic perspective. Now, those economic impacts, we can think about them as being positive, but for the rest of the world economy, it's largely going to be negative. Energy sits at the heart of every economy. There's no activity that does not depend on the price of energy. So once the price of energy goes up, then everything else is going to be affected, and we'll get an inflationary spiral the longer this war goes on. If it lasts, as it did in June, a couple of days, then you can get over that. But if it lasts for a longer period of time, and given the fact that yesterday the largest supplier of gas to Europe, which is Qatar, its largest facility, was closed yesterday because it was hit in 2 places. The electricity supply to the Qatar plant, so Qatar went dark. That's the term that they use. And Qatar has basically has indicated a force majeure clause, and then triggered the force majeure clause in all of its gas contracts. It's not going to be able to supply gas. Now, the point is, not being able to supply gas for what period of time? To trigger a clause like that, it means that it's abrogating all of its contracts to Europe. So that means Europe is in trouble. That's a significant difficulty, and there's no easy way to replace it. The only place that they can get gas from in Europe is from Russia. So that has changed the politics and the economics for Europe in particular. The longer this goes on, things get very dicey. So then the strict closing the Strait of Hormuz makes it doubly worse.
Yeah,
that means also insurance contract goes up. Insurance in terms of marine vessels goes up. You have the whole world global supply. The economics changes. The estimation from Goldman Sachs, I believe, is that for every 1% drop in supply in oil, the price goes up by approximately 4%. So that you're looking at a maximum, if this continues, about 80% change immediately in terms of the price of oil and gas. That's what you're looking at. Yeah, the Strait of Hormuz you just mentioned is saying is the most single important checkpoint in global economy, well, the global energy trade. And it's now in an active war zone. So Iran would have done this intentionally. So I would imagine this is all part of economic warfare, because
by disrupting the supply chain, by disrupting the Middle East, disrupting the refinery in Saudi Arabia, disrupting the LNG plant in Qatar, it's well known that it will cause this kind of ripple-down effect. And ultimately, for us in the Caribbean and Trinidad, do we have enough reserves? Is there enough in the tank, as it were, for us to not be impacted immediately by this fallout in the Gulf?
Well, there are two different types of impacts. Remember that we are no longer, we no longer have a refinery. So all energy products, for example, gasoline, diesel, and diesel in particular, diesel basically is the backbone of all what you would call commercial trade. Most of our trade vehicles will be diesel vehicles. Those prices go up pretty quickly. And that immediately puts pressure on government expenditure because those prices, we have no control over those prices. So PIREA imports it, and PIREA is going to have to pay full price. Whatever changes in the price that takes place, PIREA has to pay it. So the decision is subsidies. Do we continue the subsidies? Or are we going to change the price at the pump? Now, that has political implications significantly because it affects people's pockets. So how is that going to happen? What's going to take place? And prices remain relatively unchanged in 2022 when we had the difficulties in Ukraine, when that started and the prices went up. I don't think the prices were affected significantly. So, but that was a short period of time when those prices spiked. So we'll have to see how that works. On the other side of the fence, when the prices of natural gas spiked, it certainly helped Trinidad and Tobago. The price of ammonia, for example, went up significantly. The price of ammonia went up to something in the region. I think it topped at one stage. The highest price was about $1,500 a ton, when the more normal price is somewhere between $400 and $500. So prices went up significantly. And the total amount of natural gas, or the revenue we derived from natural gas in 2023 went from something like 1.3 million to 3.2 billion. That's $1.9 billion extra. That's just in terms of ammonia alone, but also happened with regard to LNG or any other places, any of the other items that we exported. So that's a positive, and that helped Trinidad and Tobago turn around. Now, what has taken place in the Middle East is also unprecedented. You have 8 countries which supply oil and gas to the rest of the world, to Asia in particular, China and other Asian countries, Malaysia, all those other countries in that particular area. Much of their supply, Korea, Japan, much of their supply comes from that particular area. So that the effect on them is going to be worse. Now that has different implications to what took place in the Ukraine war, which is when it affected Europe. But this is going to affect Europe and China. So if this continues for any great length of time, we're facing 2 issues. The world faces 2 issues: an inflationary spiral and the possibility of a recession.
Is this the most volatile the global trading system it's been in recent history? Because we're looking at this from multiple fronts. Trump's tariff offensive, obviously, that's causing its own stress. The Ukraine-Russia scenario still very much active. People are still reeling from COVID. That impact still exists today and now with this development in the Gulf. It's almost like the global trading system is getting touched from four corners.
And this is particularly what makes it so bad. And the fact is that it's going to affect the other side of the world, the Middle East as well as Europe. This changes if you want, the geopolitical balance significantly. One wonders what if the US had not really worked out how this would have worked, because they can't achieve regime change, and Iran just pushed up the cost of this intervention significantly. The point is very simply that the US could not attack Iran without the help of bases in Kuwait, in Qatar, in Saudi Arabia. And whereas before, they had not attacked energy infrastructure, on this particular occasion, Iran has rolled the dice. It says by definition, since you are co-belligerents, we will attack you because we stand to lose everything. So this is just simply, we were going to make the biggest gamble you can. The only thing that we can do, we cannot fight the U.S. On normal terms. I mean, clearly they have the biggest army. They have air superiority. Israel, for example, Israel fighter jets cannot reach Iran
2.5 hours
without being refueled in the air which come from all of these Gulf states. So what they have done is made certain that the Gulf states understand that there's a price to pay from an economic perspective. Wow. And once war comes to a region in that particular fashion, investors bow out. Now, when we think of Dubai and Kuwait and Abu Dhabi and so on, we think of, if you want, burgeoning economies, real estate,
tourism.
Shipment areas, tourism.
Yeah, that's going to be impacted in a major way. Nobody wants to go there.
Iran has just wiped out investor confidence in terms of real estate development and everything else that they spent a long time building up. So I would imagine that yesterday, the Gulf states issued a communique condemning Iran, right? But in these circumstances, if your territory is being used as a base to attack my country, and that's an existential threat for me, I will pass on the favor.
Mariano,
that's exactly what has taken place here.
Well, I'll tell you this. Let's stay on top of this very fluid story. I'm sure we will get a chance to touch base soon. As always, I want to thank you for your time, Mariano Brown.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Mariano Brown, TNT economist, touching base, and we're going to continue with the developments out of the Gulf, and we will get some perspective on the SOE that was declared this morning. Dr. Garvin Hira, regional security expert, he joins me next.
This March the 11th and the 12th, the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce presents Catalyst SME Conference 2026, where potential becomes performance for SMEs. Over 2 days, gain practical tools to access finance, conduct market research, and position your business for real growth. And on Saturday the 14th, meet real buyers through curated B2B meetings and dynamic pop-up shops, designed to turn strategy into opportunity. 3 days, real strategy, real connections, real opportunity. Register now.
My man, Andre.
Good night, Anthony.
7 years with the company, and we couldn't do it without Antoine.
Happy birthday, dear Alejandro. Happy birthday to you.
Who's Angelo?
We're like coworkers who don't forget your name.
I'm Angelo.
CG United. Good like that.
Dr. Garvin Hira joins me on the Zoom line, regional security expert. Let me thank you as always, Dr. Hira, for the time. I look forward to our conversation, a very important one this morning.
Hi, morning. Definitely. Morning to Trinidad and Tobago, those who are streaming, those who are viewing, those who are listening. Good morning, GW and team.
So, Dr. Hira, we got up to the news of a state of emergency being declared today. The details will be told to us, I'm sure, during the course. My first question to you, what can be done under the umbrella of a state of emergency that cannot be done if we just apply, streamline, I would say committed investigative and intelligence-driven policing in a normal structure? What's the difference if we were to just treat with it and through the lens of just hardcore policing? What can be done differently under SOE that can be done under normal circumstances and a normal time?
Yeah, what you are advocating is quite possible in that there can be hard and fast targeted policing. There can be operations that are streamlined with proper planning and execution, utilizing all of the assets into agencies. But with a state of emergency, one of the key issues with that are the restrictions. And as you said, the details will roll out. Are there any restrictions with regard also to the utilization of raids and there's no need for warrants and that type of stuff, and of course to put pressure as a suppression against crime and criminality in the aspect of criminals and where they operate. Now, you would know that there were a lot of tennis match dialogues with regard to the ZOSO. That didn't happen. And I believe the government was looking at how crime and the escalation or de-escalation would unfold within the last couple of weeks post-carnival, whatever, and recognizing that there's been increase in crime, recognizing now that they don't have a hand on keeping it where they want it, needed the additional muscle of the SOE. What I have challenges with is that we get up every morning to an SOE, and we have now diluted, that whole aspect of the SOE that is in place, and it becomes now like a normal. It's like if the police or the TTAPS law enforcement is going into a type of operation that we've gotten used to. So the SOE has now become just like a normal type of.
So you're saying it's losing its potency, basically.
It has lost its potency, not losing. It has lost its potency. It's now a police tactic, and it shouldn't be like that. The SOE has to be applied when there are specific issues of focus. If we are losing grip of something, it's not to just pull the SOE. Now we're just pulling the SOE out of the locker when we're losing grip. And that's why I would have mentioned before, the SOE was coming to an end. We should have been applying some specific targeting operations, planning to roll this thing out into a short, medium, and long term to sustain the effects of the SOE. We have to know that we are capable of operating outside of the SOE to push back and to deal with crime and criminality. And if it's slipping away, then it means somewhere along the line, we're not doing what is expected. All kudos to the police, all kudos to law enforcement, inclusive of the defense force. They've done a great job way back if we stretch it to see how far these guys have been operating. But we have had also enough time to theater why this is happening, why there's an escalation, why the shooting, why the gang warfare, and go hard at the root system. Otherwise, we will have to rely on the SOE. And the criminals are aware of it. And one of the key things with the SOE and the criminals is the aspect of rogue officers. We are still treating with that ill across Homeland Security and Defense, where rogue officers are in bed with criminal elements, and that is like the enemy within. So that's forcing us now to revisit how we strategize and operationalize certain tactics. So we have to also treat with the rogue officers that they're passing information as we speak to the criminal element.
I mean, we saw that development where in the Shigona station last week, drugs went missing. How does a scenario like that undermine the goodwill and the work that's being done by the TTPS?
It definitely undermines it. It goes further than undermine it. It actually lights a fuse that can destroy the genuinity of good policing, because you're doing all the work, all the investigations, all the intelligence, and yet so that information is being leaked. You're hemorrhaging while you're trying to plug the leaks, and that is a serious thing. That is not a problem that happened yesterday or last year. It's an issue that has arisen, and I think by now we should be making a more robust, stringent approach to treat with rogue officers. There were some former heads who were addressing it, seeking to address it, but now I think more than ever it needs to be a concentrated effort that rogue officers is in fact a challenge to national security, to the Homeland Security and Defense combined, and we have to be able to deal with that because it is affecting the efficacy of policing and, of course, the brand and reputation of national security on the whole.
Dr. Hira, as we take it further afield now to the Middle East, to the Gulf, obviously we can spend a long time treating with the politics of the moment, but we want to get it from that perspective of war and warfare and what the impact of that will do to not only the region, because many suggesting this could be a forever war, some suggesting it could be over within weeks. But if it prolongs and it develops into this, what we would have seen in like Iraq and these places where it went on for quite a long time, could other major players be pulled into this particular battle? Could this be the fuse to light something even greater on the world stage? What is your sense of what's happening right now in the Gulf?
Yeah, it can be a war that is stretched, because at the end of the day, it's driven by the economic corridor. There can be, and there will be, and we are already seeing that, some aspects of the ripple effect in the region. We have to understand that it's no longer we are thousands of miles away, we are in a global village, and whatever is happening outside there in the Middle East is going to affect us. So it is very important to understand how this war, how this conflict is going to unfold. We have seen, I mean, many people are there. The world has shifted. Let's just talk that for a minute. The world has shifted. It's on edge. We are getting up in the morning to see bombings and fighting, and we're getting it real. Before you had to get it with a sort of delayed aspect, or day, 2 days after. Now you're getting it real. You're seeing it actually taking place, and it's traumatizing citizens of the globe. And so it's a global trauma that everyone is facing. That is very, very important. That psychosocial effect that is taking place. So we may be thinking the economy, politics, sanctions, political affiliation, decision making, but there's also an effect that is hitting hard on citizens of the world. The landscape is being reshaped. So my key aspect of it, however, is you see, when we discuss war, many people think that experts have to speak specific on the tactics and warfare and planning and that type of stuff, but we also have to understand how it's going to affect regional stability, how it's going to affect the people, economic trade, challenges of that nature. I mean, the Strait of Hormuz, that's closed, and that actually is a choke point there. That's one of the main corridors for the movement of oil into the global market. We cannot dismiss extremism and sympathizers in those aspects that can probably want to hit targets in other areas of the world. That's a MO with the countries that are involved, and we're now seeing where U.S. targets are being striked across the Middle Eastern continent. But who is to say that cannot extend or expand into other aspects, other hemispheres of the world where targets can be struck?
So let me ask you, just to put a next part of the reality of this moment. Now, what we saw on Saturday was the taking out of not only just a political head, but a religious head, the Ayatollah. Do you think there could be any fallout globally with that particular development? Because I know there are many who, Islam is their faith, and they would look at that as a grave disrespect. I mean, he is a spiritual head. He was, this is the Ayatollah we're talking about here, Dr. Hira. So I wonder, with this particular development, do we have to brace ourselves for severe consequence of this particular action?
Not us as such. But yes, I believe those who are engaged in the conflict must have explored a what if, because at the end of the day, it's in the month of Ramadan, and he is a religious leader, and there is a religiosity with regard to this conflict, and Islamic fundamentalism does in fact lean towards that sort of sympathizer terrorist type activity. So can there be strikes outside of the Middle East to targets that are affiliated to the conflict? And the answer is yes. Are they willing to press that button? That is what needs to be explored. And that exploration and the what ifs and the theatering, then countermeasures have to be put in place. counterintelligence has to be activated to ensure that you have proactive and predictive information with regard to any sort of activity that involves terrorism and, of course, sympathizers towards what we have just seen.
Do you see in the closing minute or so any other major global player getting involved? Iran must have friends on the global stage. Do you see any one of their friends being willing and bold enough to step into this particular battle?
I'm glad you asked that, but I didn't realize we only had 60 minutes. I don't want to go there. I want to stay right here. Venezuela, in 2022, signed a 20-year cooperation with Iran. Iran has infrastructure on the ground in Venezuela, inclusive of military armament and missiles and drones. Iran was a friend, was in bed with Venezuela. Venezuela had sympathized with Iran and vice versa, and aligned itself with any country that could have allowed them to dodge the sanctions of the US. This is evidence. This exists as we speak. Venezuela, 7 miles away from us. And therefore, Russia, China, Iran, I think it is, and Cuba are close allies of Venezuela, but close allies of Iran, and that's in our space. So therefore, we are not separate or isolated or insulated from what is taking place. There could be a challenge existing 7 miles away from us. Yes, Maduro was removed, but has the alignment, has the cooperation, has that commitment remained? And those are some of the questions I'm hoping that some of our state agencies, state actors, decision makers are also paying attention to.
Any closing remarks as we wrap things up on this Tuesday morning?
Closing remarks is to stay connected, stay into that information gathering. Be very careful of consuming outside there on social media with regard to the conflict and the war. Make sure it's from an authenticated source. And I urge the government to ensure that we can give updates as to our positioning, our decisions, and most importantly, safety and security for our citizens outside of the SOE, but involving the conflict and especially involving the trade aspect of it, because the supply chain is going to be affected very soon. And we may just see a delay in getting goods and services here in Trinidad and Tobago based on the global impact.
Supply chain issues, we find ourselves almost going back to where we were 6 years ago during COVID, right. And then we have the tariff scenario that's going on, and then Ukraine, Russia also is in the mix. So it's a lot of moving parts. A lot of moving parts.
Have we learned our lessons taking that 6-year issue there with COVID? Have we learned our lessons? That's the issue.
Yeah, well said. Dr. Hira, as always, sincere thanks.
Thank you very much. God bless.
You're most welcome. Well, what a first hour. I think I'll have to take a little pause, catch myself, drink a little tea here, drink some of my brew. And we come back with some housekeeping before we head to the 7 a.m. news update. See you soon.
From the producers of Ridiculous 6.5 and 7-Year Itch comes a brand new ridiculously funny comedy.
Two Fat Fellas. Friday 6th, Saturday 7th, and Sunday 8th of March. Queen's Hall. 3 nights only.
Two Fat Fellas stars Cecilia, Penny, Kevon, Zachary, Rachel, and Rody. Tickets available at Dorman Shoe Store along Circular Mall, K-Square Stores, Eastgate Mall, Brentwood Plaza, Beachology, Mokorapo Road. Queen's Hall box office opens on the 23rd of February. And islandetickets.com. For more info, call 683-4843.
Two Fat Fellas. Queen's Hall. 3 nights only. Two Fat Fellas.
When it comes to cleaning your spaces spotless and professionally maintained, trust the team that leaves no corners unchecked. 360 Cleaning and Facility Maintenance offers complete janitorial and routine maintenance services, upholstery and deep cleaning, power washing, outdoor and exterior care, floor cleaning and maintenance, even grass cutting and asphalt recoating, from offices to commercial spaces and residential properties. They handle it all with precision and care. Call 491-5276 or email 360cleaning.sales@gmail.com. 360 Cleaning and Facility Maintenance. No corners left unchecked.
Each Each day I ask myself, how can our country be better than it was yesterday? We all hope for a better society, but not many understand the power of their influence to change the world around them. A small act of kindness holds as much power as a camera, a mic, or even a seat in the parliament when it comes to achieving societal development. I understand that my purpose extends beyond being a mere observer. I am an active participant in shaping the world around me. From the stories I write to the newscast I produce, it is my hope that everyone is heard and understood. We are where you are.
Welcome back. Let's get into some housekeeping. Ways you can connect with us. You're sending an email to Nikisha, our producer. You're sending it to tmb@cnc3.co.tt. We'll get on to you soon, and chances are I'll see you on the set, or we could just do the Zoom connection in the safety of your office, your home, wherever you decide to do your setup. I look forward to seeing you soon. Yes, indeed. Let's head across to our social media details. I'm sure when we get all the SOE, the breakdown, as it were, we will be putting everything there on our social media feed so you can stay on top of the latest news right here via Guardian Media. Again, Instagram, Facebook, and X, very active. And another place to get your verified breaking news, on the mobile app, your CNC3 mobile app. Get it today on your smartphone. Put yourself in a gear. And as per usual, the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian. Get your copy. Today, a fantastic piece. I was watching it just now there on the Health Plus, Women, Aging, Health and Fitness for the ladies. This is a Fitness Weekly with Oren Gordon. So I implore you to get your Guardian today. And you could enjoy the Guardian on your desktop, tablet, or mobile when you visit guardian.co.tt for your online subscription. Let's head to Words to Inspire. When the whole world is silent, even one voice becomes powerful. It's true, huh? Think about it. If the whole world, when the whole world is silent, one voice could break the silence, you know. Are you willing to be that voice? That's the question, because sometimes that voice and lifting your voice comes with a price, and that's why many remain quiet, because fear, as much as love, and love is a strong energy, very strong energy, probably the greatest energy, but there's an energy called fear that sometimes moves close by, and there are many people who are fearful and they keep their voice very quiet because they don't want to really shake the cage and put themselves in place. And sometimes if we stay quiet and we allow things to take place, we know the front, you know. So there are moments I implore you to be brave enough to lift your voice. Even if you're gala rough up, know that you was able to lift it. All right, beautiful words on this Tuesday morning. Let's head to the World Weather Wrap with Jean-Marc. Jean-Marc, good morning.
Good morning. In today's weather wrap, we head over to the United States, where it seems as though they are moving from one extreme to the next. Wildfires are now hitting harder and earlier than usual this year, with over 385,000 acres already scorched. Most of the danger is currently focused in the south and the plains, where dry winds and crunchy dormant grass are making things difficult for firefighters. The massive Ranger Road fire in Oklahoma and Kansas is the biggest worry so far, having burned through 283,000 acres of land. Meanwhile, down in Florida, the national fire is still proving tricky for crews to pin down as it moves through the Big Cypress area. Also, because there wasn't as much snow in the western mountains this winter, experts are worried that this early activity is just a preview of a very long, hot summer in the United States. Now let's head over to Europe, where those in France are trading their scarves for sunglasses as a record-shattering warm spell sweeps the nation. The mercury recently hit a staggering 29.6 degrees Celsius, which is 16 degrees above average. This winter heat wave broke multiple February records, and today the anomaly continues with unseasonably mild highs of 16 degrees and lows of 3 degrees. This heat comes after significant flooding and record-breaking month in terms of rainfall for France. They seem to be going through all the extremes all over the globe apparently. Now for today's weather forecast. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but the Saharan dust is back and it's expected to be thickest today, giving us moderate air quality. However, the silver lining is that it's expected to begin moving away from tomorrow. Otherwise, today will be mostly dusty and breezy with just the odd brisk shower during the course of the day. Also, with the strong winds, there's a yellow level hazardous seas alert in effect for northeastern and eastern coastlines of Trinidad and Tobago until 6 p.m. on Thursday. All marine interests are advised to exercise extreme caution in these areas due to the likelihood of large waves as well as strong rip currents. That's all for today's weather wrap. Back to you.
Jamak Rampasad, sincere thanks, my good friend. Of course, Sahara dust, you heard that, right? Quality is going to be a bit shaky today, so those with any particular issue, be very mindful. Respiratory issues. Let's get ready. 7 a.m. news update, and we come back and open up the lines, your open forum, right after the news. See you soon.
Magical Expressions Limited is the largest local importer and distributor of fresh cut stems, offering the widest range of beautiful flowers at the most affordable prices. Call us today at 701-6488 or visit our website to order.
We are your one-stop, most convenient, most helpful, most caring community pharmacy. Our pharmaceutical services include dispensing medicines, repeat dispensing, clinical governance. But we also have a fully stocked convenience store featuring our refreshment aisle, grocery lane, personal care products, toys, pet supplies. We are most conveniently located out of the traffic, just 2 minutes off the highway in Heartland Plaza, in Devonshire Corners. Contact us on 220-8705 or 470-5938 and visit us soon.
Things don't always go as expected. Be ready with Trinry for auto, home, business and group life. Call us at 800-TRIN or visit trinry.com today. Huge insurance premium. Pay your premiums bit by bit with FlexiPay from Trinry. For more manageable auto, home and commercial insurance payments, call us at 800-TRIN or visit trinry.com today. Trinry. Premier insurance coverage for less.
Good morning, I'm Doris Polo with headline news on CNC3 and the TBC Radio Network. With Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar facing criticism over government support of the United States' Israeli military action against Iran, one local Muslim leader says she's doing what she thinks is best. Imam Rafaik Mohammed of the Makun Street Masjid shared his views after midday Ramadan prayers in San Fernando yesterday. He says while global tensions are rising, Trinidad and Tobago must remain realistic about its position, and criticizing Persad-Bissessar makes no sense.
So criticizing, she is wasting time. You have to try to see what you could do to help to build yourself. She's just a figurehead here, and as I've said, she have to use and she have to be very tactful in whatever she's doing, otherwise we will be in trouble. We have to face reality. People are not facing reality, what is taking place around them. Right? We, on the whole, we are on a cliff, we're on the brink. We could go down a cliff.
Hundreds of migrants, including mothers with young children, braved sweltering heat and brief showers outside the Atto Bolden Stadium in Couva as they waited under tents for in-person registration. More than 29,000 people successfully registered online before the February 26th deadline as part of the new migrant registration framework. But there were some hiccups, not only with accommodation, but also with documentation. Police and soldiers worked to maintain order, but for a few, the process was slow and tiresome.
My wife inside here, we come about 8:30. We was on the 8 o'clock appointment, and up to now she come out yet. So it's taken long, it's taken a while.
Just before midday, Homeland Security Minister Roger Alexander arrived, denying that some migrants were afraid to register.
I just asked the lady there. I said, were you afraid to come here? She said, no, I want my children to be able to go to school. That's enough for me.
Minister Alexander says he will speak to the Prime Minister about migration registration extension, noting 17,000 children registered online while over 12,000 applications were incomplete. Investigations are underway into the discovery of ammunition believed to be TTPS issued at various crime scenes. Bullets were found at the scene of the murder of a Karapo man last week. Spent shells were also found in Aruka, where Minford Alec was gunned down last Friday. Despite the discovery of the shells, investigators say there was no evidence to suggest they were police-involved shootings. Those were your 7 a.m. news headlines. We'll have another news update at 8 a.m. on the TBC Radio Network.
Back, it's our second hour, and we are doing the program with that particular development, that breaking news this morning that we are currently, we're stepping into another state of emergency. As to the full details, we will get that during the course of the day, and here at Guardian Media, we'll keep you in the loop. Let's see who's on the line as we open up the phone and obviously bring in the open forum for today, Tuesday. Good morning, you're live.
Jason.
Hey, welcome. Morning.
Morning. All right, Jason. One thing I would like to see is that hats off to the West Indies, even though that they would have lost, right? They put up a good fight against India, right? And they made a very good performance, right? They put on a very good performance in the entire tournament, right? So even though they exit, right? They did very good, right? So I would like to say congrats to them in doing very good.
Yeah.
What I would like to say, Jason, this is something very demonic, right? In the month of Ramadan, to launch that on the people and them. Killing, as a result of that, killing over 200 people. You see, the Iranians ain't saying anything, Jason, but let me tell you something, silence is a killer, right? When the month of Ramadan done, we will see how this plays off. We will see how this plays off when the month of Ramadan done. Because let me tell you something, apparently, I do not agree. Let me tell you something, Jason. I do not agree with Trump on everything that he does. And this is one thing that I do not agree with. You understand what I'm saying? I only hope that they could take what is Iran and the Middle East have to dish out after the month of Ramadan. Jason, you have a good day.
You're the best shagonas. I didn't even think about it that way, Because, yes, it's a war waging in the month of Ramadan, and nobody wins a war ultimately, and war is not a nice thing at all, what we're seeing, hospitals being impacted, the school with the girls, oh goodness, places of worship, nowhere safe in a war, and we see where it's all gloves off, based on. If we could just gauge what happened in Gaza and how that went on, and the kind of images and what was coming, very brutal. Let's set to Powder Magazine. Good morning.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Jason.
Morning,
you look
Powder.
very nice with your brown suit and your red tie and your nice black shirt. Very outstanding indeed. Well done.
Thank you, sir.
Jason, I'm a bit calling here with a heavy heart. Seeing my beautiful country is under a state of emergency, I think for the third time in the last year, for the third time. And I agree with the government doing things, to really try to suppress the crime. But I want to ask the Honorable Prime Minister if considering putting a curfew, because when you have a state of emergency, Mr. Jason, I'm a former member of the Defense Force. It seems to play down this state of emergency, right? I see you showing the picture of the Honorable Prime Minister looking so wonderful too. But do not let these criminals could be able to come out and pick up the AR-15 and still kill people. It makes the state of emergency, Honorable Prime Minister, water down. Go after them. We know some of the areas that the crime is spiking and the killing. Put a curfew. It will be a waste of time, Honorable Prime Minister, without a curfew. I'm making a clarion call to the government this month, which I supported, to put a curfew within this state of emergency. go after the criminal in a serious, tangible way. The country is bleeding too much young death. Oh my God, look how much people dead since they left this state of emergency. Jason, I was in a funeral for a bishop in Bourne Road just Friday, Jason. A young man was sitting somewhere around there. I only learned about that Sunday. And the young man was killing barataria. They say, what kind of society we have we want to shape? Jason, thank you for this opportunity. State of emergency without a curfew, waste of time. Put a curfew on the state of emergency. Thank you.
Thank you, Powder Magazine. Powder Magazine, very passionate. You could hear the hurt in his voice, and having to also treat with it in real time. Having to attend the funeral of someone who lost their life to the hands of violence. Let's set to Faisal. Hear what Faisal is saying down south. Faisal, good morning.
Brother Jason, morning. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago.
Morning, Brother Faisal. Welcome.
Jason, I am seeing from where I sit, I could be wrong, that Venezuela or neither Russia is going to get involved in that spat with America and the Iranians and the Israelis. Simply because the people in Venezuela are now seeing democracy on the horizon. I mean, we have not had any real upheaval in Venezuela since the U.S. intervention. Yes? With respect to Russia, they are stretched to the limit with that situation with Ukraine. And if they try to divert any of their attention in terms of arms and ammunition and artillery to Iran, then that will give Ukraine a chance to take charge basically with the support of Israel and America. So it's a strategic thing. With respect to the SOE, Jason, the police, they are between a rock and a hard place. Yes? And so the Prime Minister is not the police commissioner. So information would come to her. She would be looking at the country in general. And she has the power to take certain actions while hopefully the police is getting its act together. Because Mr. Guevara is a new kid on the block, basically in terms of the administrative part of the job.
Yeah, because, and I'll tell you this, sir, because I'm going back to the release, sir, it's basically saying here that upon briefings, right, they had a meeting at the Diplomatic Center yesterday, and they received security briefings from the commissioner that you just mentioned, the chief of defense staff, and the head of the SSA. And based on the meeting, there was this, of course, increase. They've been told that there's an increase in criminal activity, and I guess based on the advice of these leading security heads, probably the Prime Minister decided to follow the advice and go with the state of emergency.
Yes, so Jason, I am saying it's not the best thing to happen, for most people. But when you look at the people who have lost their lives and their relatives, a businessman was gone down in Arima last night, from what I'm seeing.
Yeah, I saw that news, yeah.
Popular businessman and that. And so the Prime Minister cannot leave the thing to go unchecked. She doesn't have a choice in the matter. She has to deal with the situation before her. And if this is one of the weapons in armamentarium to deal with it, then so be it.
But Brother Faisal, let me ask, based on what Powder Magazine was saying, do you think the state of emergency should be accompanied by a curfew?
I would not want to stretch it that far because I do not have the information that the commissioner and the head of defense staff would have. And I'm certain if they would have seen the necessity for that, they would have recommended it. So I don't want to go speaking on emotions. You understand what I'm saying, Jason? So I would have to wait and see. Hopefully we get this thing under control. Mr. Guevara gets his act together and keep the wheel turning quickly so we can bring some level of civility to the country. Thank you very much, my brother. Have a nice day.
All the best, Brother Faisal. What I think should happen during this state of emergency, this next state of emergency, let me hold a pause on that. Let me hear from St. James first, and I'll give a perspective later on. Good morning, St. James.
Hey, GW.
Hey, morning, St. James. Go ahead, man.
Morning, bro. What's the vibe?
Good, maybe watching the development, state of emergency. What's your take on that development? We're going back into SOE,
Well, honestly, Jay, I really honestly now wake up. So, you know, just as a fan vibe, I just call in to, say, keep up the great work and, just to share the sentiments you would convey about a positive change in the country and everything. So, if it is we going into SOE, honestly, Jay, I support the initiative to promote a more law-abiding country, resolve some of the issues. I was really thinking, Jay, we have to change probably some of the cultures. We had to be honest, right? As I would listen to some of the sentiments of, I don't want to call his name, but the officer who is on the police and news segments, he's also on Beyond the Tape. He brings it real. He says, we have to decide what type of country we want. We have to be honest with ourselves as people. It starts with us, those real principles. So I support the initiative, Jay. It's all about a positive, safe country for each of us.
All right,
that equal comfort.
All right, St. James.
So
thanks as always, man.
Blessings and blessings. I look forward. And again, aside from the security aspect, we really supposed to be focusing on the fun aspects of like enjoying going to school, enjoying going to work, and enjoying being people. So, blessings, man.
Blessings, St. James. Blessings indeed. St. James now wake up to the news, and he says he's in full support. Listen, it's here. It's going to happen. As to what are the restrictions, what's the full layout, we will get all the details today. But what I think should happen, outside of that particular push to treat with the criminal elements, there should be that push also to treat with those who are dropping the ball and dragging the TTPS flag, rogue officers, corrupt officers, officers who have totally abandoned their particular declaration of defending the country and protecting us with pride. I feel we need to really string up some of those guys and girls, if they have female officers in that kind of bangarang too, and treat with that in a very serious manner. And this is a great opportunity to do such. So it should be a kind of, from two fronts, I hope, to see that kind of action going forward. Final call.
Emergency,
good morning.
And then you have a state of emergency.
Hey, Santa Cruz. Go ahead, Santa Cruz. Let me hear. I didn't hear from top. Go again. I want to hear from the top. Go right ahead.
Yeah, I'm saying that another state of emergency, and I hope that the state of emergency is not a state of emergency that will silence civil society, because a number of people have been coming out against Kamala Prasad-Bissess's government with the rhetoric with respect to Cuba, with respect to the support for the bombing of Iran and that kind of thing. And as such, what we do not want in our country is where you have a state of emergency that's just to take people up and put them behind bars without any trial for an unconditional time. As such, that if the state of emergency would bring peace, it would bring some tranquility to this country, fine. I do not have the information that the Prime Minister will be privy to, but we have to be very careful that the state of emergency is not used to throw people behind bars without trial. Because what's going to happen, or what is happening right now, is that the Commissioner of Police seems not to have a handle on crime. And as a consequence of that, you're giving them a state of emergency to go and lock up people left, right, and center. And we have to be very careful about that. Too much state of emergency in a short space of time. That is my take on this. This is Santa Cruz signing off.
Thank you, Santa Cruz. Santa Cruz, always very sharp, always on the ball, touching base with us every single morning. To all the callers from Shogunas, from St. James, Powder Magazine, to FISO, and of course, lastly there, Santa Cruz. Thank you for the perspective this morning. Again, we don't know the details. If this state of emergency will come with a curfew, what will be the restrictions, what's the full layout, details will be forthcoming today. And here at Guardian Media, we'll be on top of all the latest in that fluid development. Lots of moving parts. And I'll stay in tune to what's happening for the midday news and, of course, via our social media to get the latest. But again, as I mentioned, other than treating with the criminal and criminal elements, we have to also deal with those who are dragging the flag. And I think it's a minority. It can never be the majority. Most of the men and women of the TTPS go out there. I have family, I have friends, close friends, who I know they go out there and they give their very, very best. But you see the ones who dragging the flag, you're making it bad for everybody. And you're not making the place look good at all. So we need to treat with those. Get them out and ensure that that cannot be the new normal. We get ready for the digipreneur, Karen Rose. He joins us from Thailand. Very interesting talking point. Stand by. Our digipreneur is here. Have no fear.
This March the 11th and the 12th, the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce presents Catalyst SME Conference 2026, where potential becomes performance for SMEs. Over 2 days, gain practical tools to access finance, conduct market research, and position your business for real growth. And on Saturday the 14th, meet real buyers through curated B2B meetings and dynamic pop-up shops, designed to turn strategy into opportunity. 3 days, real strategy, real connections, real opportunity. Register now.
Introducing the new Sun Mix Nut Bar. Available in 3 delicious flavors: granola raisin nut, almond cranberry crunch, and coconut almond crisp. All packed on a rich bed of dark chocolate.
Taste the good life, snack right. Taste the good life anytime. The good life. Sun Mix.
Sunshine Snacks Sun Mix Nut Bar. Taste the good life.
Celebrity Family Feud is a show I like because I get to meet people that I happen to be fans of. Jack, how you feel, man?
I'm feeling good. Glad to be here. About to bust these guys up.
Ah, come on! Let's get it on!
That's okay.
You got me.
Name something you like to do to Steve Harvey while he's sleeping.
Tickle him. Sex?
This town isn't as safe as it used to be. You remember that laundromat that burnt down? We offered protection, but they refused.
So you're telling me that if I pay you, you'll protect me from... Gentlemen, I think you've been watching too many cheap American soaps.
Westwood Park, Saturdays at 7:30 p.m. only on CNC3.
The fact that they ask the questions, those challenging questions that no other media house would ask. To, shed light on those things that are in the dark, those stories that no one else wants to cover.
I grew up reading The Guardian, actually. It's a household name.
About The Guardian, one thing that I like, the human interest stories have increased.
See the investigative pieces on the human trafficking. I find that very interesting.
You go more in depth.
On sports, especially local sports, and that's one of my highlights for The Guardian.
Yeah, I've been in Ghats and The Guardian started coming out, started working. I was a newspaper man.
Could the stories that are being covered are well detailed and they get more facts?
At this point in time, I really like the Spanish section.
I'm glad I like it.
Like to know everything what is going on with us.
Also, I think the editorials, I think they're doing a good job on the speaking the truth, and they're challenging the government to make things better.
Me in particular, of recently, the last 2-3 months, I've been reading The Guardian. I'm seeing a lot of news about the neighborhoods and the communities, and I even saw my community featured, and I was proud.
Oh, The Guardian.
The Guardian?
Guardian.
Trinidad Guardian.
The Guardian.
The Guardian.
Trinidad Guardian.
The Guardian is my first choice.
Have no fear, the digipreneur is here. Karen Rose joins us out there in Thailand, next side of the world. Obviously, Karen, before we get into our discussion, is there any kind of, what's the conversation in Thailand based on the activities in the Gulf? You are way closer to what's happening there than we are. What's the mood in Thailand at this point in time? And good morning to you, Karen. Great to see you as always.
Yeah, good morning to you as well. So the mood in Thailand has been pretty interesting. Right now, it's protection. So Like I was telling you off air, Thailand is an oil-producing nation, so they export a lot of their crude oil and they export it to the Middle East. So what they did was they cut all exports of their oil supplies to keep everything locally. And then one of the big announcements today was that they activated their coal factories in order to keep the energy running. So I didn't even know there was coal factories still in existence, but here we are.
Wow, very, very interesting. And then normally I know you would route your flight through Qatar to get back to Trinidad. That's clearly, well, at least if you were to have to come home immediately, you'll have to find a different. What would be the next alternative route, obviously, since you can't really go through Qatar at this point in time?
So the good thing is that what people don't know is that Thailand has the most international connections in the entire world, right? The most. So getting back to Trinidad is not a problem. The thing is that the route through Qatar was the cheapest. It was the most economical flight. So the second best would be we would fly out to Japan, and then Japan you either go to Houston or you go to New York, and then you fly back to Trinidad from there. So you still have the routes, but the Qatar route was definitely the most cost-effective one. It would be Qatar to Miami and then to Trinidad. So we just got to use the other ones and pay a couple more dollars.
Yeah, well, Karen, you be safe, and by all means, we get into our discussion this morning, and we are treating with why TNT citizens are struggling to land remote jobs. I didn't even know we were struggling. What's happening there?
Yeah, so, as of about 2 weeks ago, I've officially joined the TT Guardian business team. So every single Thursday, you can see my content inside of the TT Guardian. So last week, I did an article on the top remote job boards in the globe. Like if you are looking for remote jobs and working for companies around the world, last week's article treated with the top boards that you could go and apply to. And Jason, since that article last week, my emails, my DMs has reached the hundreds of people with PhDs, masters, bachelors who have been, applying or, coming to me with their stories about, and again, the local job market is also a part of the conversation as well. People are looking for alternatives outside of the local job market, but they can't seem to land those jobs. And there's been some common themes that I'm seeing as to what has been keeping people back from getting the opportunities with international companies. And I think it's a good point to treat with some of the key things that I'm seeing. That way people can correct themselves so that they can get a better opportunity to get those jobs outside of the regional market.
What's the biggest hindrance, stumbling block?
So the biggest one that I'm seeing is skill misalignment. So yes, people are qualified, they have the degrees, the PhDs, but what we have to keep in mind is that the minute you start to now apply for jobs on the global scale, it's a lot more competitive. You are now competing with people that are doing short courses almost every other day, that are building up their skill sets. One of the things that we're seeing now that we weren't seeing, 6 months ago, is you have jobs. It doesn't even matter what you are in, what field you're in. You could be an accountant, you could be in health. You have employers that are now asking for things like AI fluency. We're not talking about just using ChatGPT to generate an image or treating it like Google where you can ask information. You have people that are looking for actual skill sets within AI regardless of the industry. And we don't have many institutions that are even upskilling locally in AI skill sets. So we are structured to apply for jobs locally, right? But as soon as we step out and we see international companies asking for a different set of skill sets to complement your degrees, that's where we're lacking, and that's something that's keeping back. That's one of the things that's keeping people back from landing those international roles.
Interesting. Another stumbling block would be?
So the next big stumbling block would be outdated job application strategies. So here's a huge one. We have people that would build their resumes inside of tools like Canva, because Canva gives you beautiful templates. They use Microsoft Publisher, and they use other tools as well to create these beautiful resumes. The problem is, almost every single organization internationally uses something called applicant tracking software, or for short form ATS. If you do not know what an ATS compliant resume is, basically it's this software that scans your resumes, and if there's graphics, if there's columns, anything that you do to make it beautiful, the ATS software that international companies use automatically disqualifies these resumes. So your resumes are not even making it past the AI filtration system. And that's again because we are not, we're not being trained, we're not being told about, how to craft ATS compliant resumes, because truth be told, HR, they're in tech too. There's HR tech, and HR tech is allowing them to get more granular on the types of candidates that they want. But if you, the applicant, do not know what an ATS resume is, then your resume is discarded before it even goes to any human to see.
Wow, interesting. That one I don't know. I don't know that one at all. That's a blow mind. What else as we go through this very important talking point?
Yeah, so the next big one is LinkedIn platform. So the average person across the Caribbean, this is not just a TNT problem, but across the Caribbean, the average person does not use LinkedIn, has not signed into LinkedIn, and even if they've created a profile, they still don't know how to use LinkedIn. But here's the thing, LinkedIn has now become the evolution of the CV. It's become the evolution of the resume. Anytime you are applying to organizations outside of the Caribbean, one of the first things they ask, they're gonna ask you to upload your resume, and the software is gonna pull out all the information from the resume, but right below that, it's asking you to drop your LinkedIn profile in there. And recruiters are acutely going through your LinkedIn platforms. If you do not have a LinkedIn presence, if you are not producing any type of meaningful conversations within your realm of expertise on LinkedIn, recruiters are simply going to just go to the next candidate that looks like they have a good understanding of the role and functions that they are applying for through their LinkedIn content. But again, because LinkedIn is now the evolution of the CV, all of the information and things that HR recruiters are or the tools that they're using to bring in their clients, it's happening through LinkedIn, and the average person in the Caribbean either doesn't have LinkedIn or is underutilizing the platform. And again, that is disqualifying people from even getting in front of a human for that job.
Yeah, not even getting you're not even going to be on in the conversation because clearly.
Not in the conversation.
Wow. And we're talking here, and these are global jobs, not so much the regional experience, because obviously I know within CARICOM there's CSME and you could maneuver different ways through different contacts, but we're talking here, once we step out of the region, this is the gold standard, right?
Yes. This is the global standard that we're trying to get people to. So all the job boards we spoke about last week, these are for international jobs. They're paying you in stronger currencies. You're getting paid in US or in pounds or Australian dollars. So you want to have these jobs. And again, when you have it's not that we don't have the talent. We have the talent. We have amazing people. But because we don't understand the fine-tunement of how international companies are hiring people, we are not even getting our talented people in front of real recruiters. We're being disqualified from the game.
Karen Rose, I want to say sincere thanks. You be safe out there, and God spare we'll get a chance again to touch base next Tuesday inside our Digipreneur.
For sure, and you keep safe too, and take care.
That's right, Karen Rose. Well, we get into our conversation. Up next, Dr. LeBlanc, and she is joined by a very special guest Christian Hadid, as we treat with the 5K, Vita's House, and the Walk to Remember. Full details after the break.
are your one-stop, most convenient, most helpful, most caring community pharmacy. Our pharmaceutical services include dispensing medicines, repeat dispensing, clinical governance, but we also have a fully stocked convenience store featuring our refreshment aisle, grocery lane, personal care products, toys, pet supplies. We are most conveniently located out of the traffic, just 2 minutes off the highway in Heartland Plaza in Deba Chaguanas. Contact us on 220-8705 or 470-5938 and visit us soon soon. Recession have you down? Don't lose hope. Head on down to Tire Clinic for the recession deals. That should big savings with our road hazard warranty on Dunlop, Sumitomo, and Falcon tires. Available at Tire Clinic, Cuba, Chaguanas, and Pleasance Park. Tire Clinic, a tire for every need. Call 636-8973 or 636-2958.
The fact that they ask the questions, those challenging questions that no other media house would ask. To, shed light on those things that are in the dark, those stories that no one else wants to cover.
I grew up reading The Guardian, actually. It's a household name.
About The Guardian, one thing that I like, the human interest stories have increased.
See the investigative pieces on the human trafficking. I find that very interesting.
You go more in depth.
On sports, especially local sports, and that's one of my highlights for The Guardian.
Yeah, I've been in Ghana since The Guardian started coming out, started working. I was a newspaper man.
Could the stories that are being covered are well detailed and you get more facts.
Also, I think the editorials, I think they're doing a good job on this speaking the truth, and they're challenging the government to make things better.
Me in particular, of recently, the last 2-3 months, I've been reading The Guardian. I'm seeing a lot of news about the neighborhoods and the communities, and I even saw my community featured, and I was proud.
But The Guardian.
The Guardian?
Guardian.
Trinidad Guardian.
The Guardian.
The Guardian.
Trinidad Guardian.
The Guardian is my first choice.
Well, I want to get you ready for the I Walk to Remember 5K, a very important initiative, and we want to welcome, to give all the details, our committee member for the walk, as per usual, our favorite, Dr. LeBlanc is in the building, the doc is in the house, and she's here with great company from the Vitas House, the Vice Chairman, Christian Hadid. Christian, great to see you.
Good, nice to see you too.
Christian, I want to probably start with you before we get into all the details. I know the work you all do is such an important work, Death with Dignity.
Yes.
A chance to give people a proper send-off with their family, with their particular person of faith. Mm-hmm. Walk me through some of the resources needed to carry on the operation.
That might actually be more of a question for you.
Yeah, that's
resource-wise.
Yeah. So in terms of that, as you know, Vitas House Hospice is the palliative arm for the Trinidad and Tobago Cancer Society. Yeah. So what we need in terms of resources, it's a free service, first of all.
Correct.
And it's terminal palliative care to cancer patients. So the resources include Pampers, we have nurses, we provide food, we provide medication. All of this is free of charge to the patients. A lovely, clean environment, a restful, peaceful place for relatives to come and spend that time. And it's so important at that time for the caregivers to not be the relative sometimes, because then you get to spend the last moments with your loved one and not be burdened by seeing them in pain or seeing them, with side effects of the cancer itself. So in terms of resources, it's everything you can think of that for care, but medication, everything is included. It's all free. We accept donations, obviously.
Yeah, and I guess that's why the walk is so important, to raise funds to offset some of these resources. When exactly is the walk?
The walk is going to be held this year on the 18th, Saturday the 18th of April, and it starts at 7:30 and then it ends at 10 a.m.
18th of April. And what's your particular area where you start, where you finish?
We're going to be starting at CIC grounds outside on the main road, and then we head towards the Savannah, a lap around the Savannah, and then back into the grounds. And as soon as you cross the finish line, we have breakfast and entertainment.
Excellent. And I would imagine registration is open already?
Actually, it opens in half an hour. We open today. Yes, we do.
8 o'clock.
Nice. And that is going to be on raceroster.com. is where you'll be able to register.
Is this the t-shirt you're getting?
Yes, this is the t-shirt, and
it comes free with it.
The beautiful thing about this t-shirt is that you're able to write who you're walking to remember.
Yes.
So, this is for those that we've lost. This is for those that are journeying that road with cancer and battling. Somebody said to me, why are we using the word battle? Because it's such a negative connotation in terms of anger or a fight. But really and truly, yes, it's a journey with a disease, but sometimes we do have to look at it like we are fighting this disease because this disease is fighting us.
And it's one fight.
Yeah, it's a big fight, and but it's one fight. And so, it's important for us to remember those we've lost, remember those that are walking this, and for those who may have to walk it as well. Mm-hmm. So it's strength in numbers, really.
How do you know from the medical perspective, because you've been in the field as a medical professional for many years, Are there certain signs that you know someone is about to go? I mean, is it that they say? Because I mean, sometimes people are given a particular time frame, and people always, based on whatever bad man, a miracle, they're able to go past that particular timeline. And you know, yes, I have an uncle baby boy, he's deceased now. You know, many times we thought he was on his last, and he went on years after.
Yeah.
He just, you know, he did not give up the fight, and eventually he did. But I said all that to say, do you know that somebody's ready to go?
So we give a prognosis, which is, look, you may have 4 months, you may have 6 months, you may have 8 months, based on what we're seeing clinically. But we can almost certainly tell you when it's the last hours or last 24 hours, because we have the signs and we see that. But I could tell you, and you know, I always come back to my grandmother, because I had the privilege and the honor of being with her in the hospice for the last week completely. And I could tell you when she said to us, it's time. You know, I need to go into hospice, and I'm almost ready to go. But we knew when she stopped talking altogether, we knew when she was going to leave as a family. So I mean, it's a very calming thing, and it's never each patient is different.
Yeah.
And that's what's important to understand.
Yeah, Christian, I mean, when folks go there, I would imagine they're more or less into their last hours. And
sometimes, but we are 6 months.
Okay, there's a threshold.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we do 6 months with review.
Okay.
So you could say, for example, the doctors could say, look, prognosis is 6 months, but we review it. So after 6 months, we don't kick you out if you're still alive.
Yeah, and we've had stuff like that.
we say, okay, because it's about death with dignity. It's about managing. It's about it's about you enjoying your life.
In fact, I wish that more people would come in sooner rather than later, because it is an amazing space with amazing people. But it, like I said, pain management wise, it doesn't have to be. It can be a lot nicer or a lot gentler than it is on your own. So I really, more than anything, coming on these shows, it's to make sure that people know that this is something that we offer. It is free to all Trinidad and Tobago citizens. And please, if you have a loved one, you know, you reach out to us. They will do the assessment. But it's there. It is a facility that is there for people.
I know there must be a capacity. What's the capacity there?
We have 12 beds.
Yeah. 12 beds.
And I think I know it's very important for you to understand that we exist. We are in the St. James compound.
Yeah, to the
back of the St. James compound. And palliative care is real in Trinidad and Tobago. So there are different hospices around. We are different. We are the arm of the Trinidad and Tobago Cancer Society, but almost all the hospices in Trinidad and Tobago, almost all are free.
Yes.
Almost all.
And people are allowed to have their last rites with their particular person of
whatever your faith. We do not judge. Whatever your faith, you have 100%. Whatever you decide.
That person of the cloth could be there.
Exactly. You know, and you know, it's important to understand how I mean, I'll never forget our last Christmas, because we had the concert and everybody was there, and I'll never forget this because there was a young man who was dying. And he had a young son.
Yes.
And we were there singing the Christmas carols. And just looking at the patients, looking at them just coming alive with the caroling, just grateful to touch our hands. So we have volunteers, and we welcome volunteers to come and sit with the patients, to read, to just reminisce, to not be fearful of that thing called death, because you can have death with dignity and rest and peace and calm.
And you're still very much alive when you're there. So we also, that's a big part of it, is bringing life to this place through the volunteers, through the people that come and they sing, like she said. I mean, you're still alive, right? You're still experiencing life. We've had people celebrate birthdays there, patients, you know? So it is about, like we said, yes, death with dignity, but still celebrating your life. You are still alive.
How do folks get in touch? I mean, if you have, I know every single time we have conversations, we touch so many, and someone probably wants to volunteer. They want to probably give of some resources, give of some kind of assistance. How could they get in touch with you, Christian?
They can phone us directly. I don't know if we have anything up with the phone number.
I can find the phone number because this is one thing I don't know out of my head.
Neither do I. A million things are now popping up. And we're also on Instagram. And we are currently working on our website. It is almost complete. I mean, we try to do more of the one-on-one, or you reach out via telephone, because a lot of the time, the people that we're talking to, they're older and they're not tech savvy. But we will have a website done up where you can also get the referrals that you can give to your doctor. And then from there is when it's passed on to us.
And important, of course, the I Walk that's happening in April to raise funds, to really bring awareness.
To raise funds, to bring awareness, to be empowered in numbers.
Yeah, community.
And you know, this morning, I want everyone to remember this, because you need to speak to your physicians. If you have loved ones, or if you're suffering, you're walking this journey with cancer, battling this disease, if you are deemed palliative, then have that discussion with your physician and say, what about Vita's House? Because they can get the referral. If they don't have the referral, they can find me, they can find Christiane, they can go to Vita's House and get the actual physical referral form. We have it in electronic as well, an electronic copy. Get that referral. It comes to us, the medical team reviews it. You're contacted within 24 to 48 hours, and arrangements are made for you to come in.
Dr. LeBlanc, Christiane, thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, you're most welcome. And closer to the day too, let's come and let's continue the conversation to give.
I want a bigger team from CNC3 in this year, eh?
No, you're getting that.
And don't escape this year, because you know you miss my bubbles, right?
Yeah.
So you need to come. So we really appreciate the numbers. We want y'all to come out. Catering for about 2,000 this year. Come out in numbers and let's celebrate and remember those that we have lost and those that are journeying through this.
Well said, and kudos the great work being done there by the Vita's House, located in the St. James Hospital towards the
back. As you're driving down towards the parking lot, you will see the sign that indicates where we are.
Yeah, tucked away, really nice.
And it is a very cathartic thing coming out to the walk. We have had a lot of people who come out, all ages, cry. It is, that's the best way I could put it, is very cathartic. You get that feeling of, I don't know, I guess when somebody passes on, when your loved ones, you almost seem like the world should stop, you know, but it doesn't, and things keep moving, and you feel like you're screaming into that void. It's the only way I can think of it, you know. But being around other people who feel the same way, that it's that shared space and energy, honestly, it's an amazing thing. It really is. It was very needed. We had a lot of people tell us that.
Thanks for sharing, indeed. And I'm sure closer to the day in April, we'll discuss it again to remind folks that we're getting out to walk. Up next, we get you ready. The founder of the El Socorro Center for Wildlife Conservation is here to treat with World Wildlife Day. A very important conversation ahead. See you soon.
Let's do this. You can get the help you need to succeed with Rand Credit Union. You can believe that you can achieve. Big goals, small ones too. Rand Credit Union, we've got you. No more waiting, that won't do. Make someday today. One life, so make it good. Live the way you know you should. With Rand Credit Union, yes you could. Make someday today.
Live your best life today with Rand Credit Union.
For me, people matter most. It's the same if you hail from Moruga, where I'm from, Mount Irvin, Scarborough, or Port of Spain. As a journalist, I'm focused on building that connection between Trinidad, the region, and the world. Most importantly, I want always to use my voice as a powerful weapon to break down barriers wherever they exist. This is why we are where you are.
Are you tired of the same old boring drive home from work? Look no further. Get ready for the ultimate after-work rush with Freedom 106.5 FM's The Overdrive with Davey. Mondays to Fridays from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Let Davey take you on a thrilling ride of non-stop entertainment and education. He covers the topics of the day, delves into the latest food and lifestyle trends, and brings dynamic guests from exciting professions to share their professional stories and experiences. Take advantage of this energizing and engaging experience. Tune into Freedom 106.5 FM, Mondays to Fridays, 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. for the Overdrive. Overdrive with Davey, the ultimate way to end your day with a bang.
Fires are unpredictable and can escalate rapidly.
Making the wrong decision can cost you all your possessions and even your life.
In the event of a fire, you can either fight or flight.
Small fires should be extinguished using an extinguisher by trained personnel only.
However, if a fire reaches the ceiling, do not attempt to fight the fire. You should evacuate immediately using the following steps.
Raise an alarm.
Call the fire service at 990.
Evacuate. Move briskly. Do not run, as this can create panic.
Never go in search of possessions.
Assemble at the muster point. Conduct a roll call to ensure everyone is accounted for.
Give the results of the roll call and other relevant information to the fire service personnel on arrival.
Remember, fire safety begins with you.
Step into ABC Doors and Windows, where quality meets variety. Discover premium wooden, steel panel, fiberglass, and steel security doors alongside aluminum, UPVC, and steel windows designed for strength and durability. At ABC, we're always a better choice, delivering products built to last and service you can rely on. Visit our showroom at 1 Chanka Trace, El Socorro South, or call 638-7184 to make your dream home a reality.
Sportsmanship is when an athlete walks off the court and you can't tell if he won or lost because he carries himself with pride either way. This quote is an embodiment of sport, and for me, sport is an embodiment of life. We are where you are. Welcome back. We're standing by to touch base with the founder of the El Socorro Center for Wildlife Conservation, Ricardo Meade. And it's a very important conversation, today being World Wildlife Day. And when we consider that word itself, wildlife, and our environment, the flora, the fauna, the animals that exist within our tropical space, we need to be very mindful because, yes, there are many who would enjoy the little wild meat and they will go in to our forested areas and really immerse themselves. There must be that understanding too of preservation, of not overdoing, and ensuring that generations to come could enjoy the splendor of nature. Yes, there are many, I would imagine, look, you're looking at a snake on screen, there are many, if they see that in the wild, you will lose your mind. But there are those who there's no fear. They understand the role and function of the snake and its important role to the ecosystem, right? We have so much in terms of the birds, in terms of the wildlife, the ocelot. Look how they deal with the ocelot the other day. Shoot it. How dare they do such a thing, right? Our owls, the parrots, the macaw. Remember the macaw that was flying in Diego Martin a while ago, flying alongside the cars with the traffic? How beautiful that was. These are scenarios where we need to be very grateful for the blessings, because there are many of our Caribbean neighbors. They don't have the kind of biodiversity, the kind of animals. We obviously being so close to South America, and, well, more than likely based on geologists and what they would tell us, we clearly, we are, in essence, South America. We just broke off, clearly, the South American mainland off of Venezuela. So the same flora, the fauna, some of the animals, it's very similar to what Venezuela, they're able to experience. But don't talk for Guyana and our friends in Suriname. These are places where they literally have panthers. Yeah? As in black panther and thing walking in the wild. We don't have it that amazing, because they're literally there by the Amazon and they get a whole different biodiversity. But for what we got here in Trinidad and Tobago, it's really beautiful. The fact that you could go down to the Caroni Swamp and see the scarlet ibis come in, and now we're seeing flamingos. Yes, flamingos in the mix. I've seen flamingos down Cedrus, just moving about the place. And you tell yourself, my goodness, you're able to see and enjoy this, splendor of nature. But we have folks who, they take it too far. They want to eat anything that moves in. Man-eating, imagine people, they hold people for trying, our national bird, You want to eat anjira and stew down and curry a scarlet ibis? Oh, the audacity, the disrespect. Yeah, there are folks who treating with anything that move in. And then there's a whole particular trade where people bring in animals illegally across the border. That's a whole different conversation. And people bring in stuff that they can't really maintain and can't keep. Remember, I thought a man who was, I think was in Valsayn some years ago. What he had, was it some kind of... Anyway, we'll come to that. Ricardo joins me on the phone line. Ricardo, good morning. I was just expressing myself based on my experience with the wildlife in my
morning. Lifetime. How are you?
Yeah, good man. Great to have you. And I'm happy we're getting into this conversation because I'm looking at it from the perspective of preservation and ensuring that the generations to come, my son, his children's children could enjoy some of the wildlife.
You're a bit low on my end.
No, I'm hearing you though. I'm hearing you.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm just saying that, I'm looking at it from the angle of preservation, the fact that the generations to come, I'm hoping they could still enjoy some of the wildlife that we are able to see in real time.
Right.
Are we having that kind of conversation? Are we closer to that kind of mindset?
Well, I believe we're getting there slowly and not as fast as we would like to, but for every one person that we have a conversation with, there's a potential someone who will become on the conservation side. Mm-hmm. And that would be much better for Trinidad and Tobago and the world as a whole in terms of sustaining our future.
For sure.
By conserving our biodiversity, we're putting together the keys to be able to sustain our future. When we destroy our biodiversity, we're setting ourselves up for a very uncertain and possibly painful future. We are the last consumers on this planet. We don't really give anything to planet Earth, we just consume. So from the smallest microbe to the largest mega mammal, they all contribute something to planet Earth. And at the end of it all, we as humans, with our big brains, are just consumers. We take. And I'm not telling anybody don't take, but stop. Do you need that much? Mm-hmm. Should you try to give back to ensure that your children and your children's children have something and can enjoy the wonderful opportunity of breathing air? Let's start off with that. So when you cut the tree, you don't think about the tree giving you oxygen. But as soon as you're in a situation where you can't breathe, you start considering oxygen.
Yeah. Ricardo, is there a situation where through your years of being out there in the forest, in the wild, we're seeing numbers decline in any particular species here in Trinidad and Tobago? Is there a scenario where you used to see a particular animal and you're not seeing it at all in this 2026?
Well, there's lots of, I would say this, it's anecdotal. And then there's evidence where it's just, okay, you're just not seeing it anymore. Anecdotal because as soon as I make a proclamation, suddenly people are statisticians and they want, where is the data? Where is the evidence? Okay, but if you have guys out there hunting a particular animal like wild hog, for example, the colored peccary, and they're not seeing it as much, their takes, and when it's reported back on their takes for the hunting season, and it's much less, it would suggest, we choose my words carefully, it would suggest that there is an actual decline in the numbers out there. Okay, and when you pair that now with basic habitat loss, more efficient hunting methods, it would make sense. So there are less things, and not just hunting animals, but our trends would have caused certain things to happen. For example, something that we don't pay any attention to is the Zandoli, right? Not the Calypsonian, but the actual animal. the garden lizard, that brown and green and bluish lizard that runs about in the garden. And we don't pay attention to that. It's just a lizard there. You know, the cat, let's kill it, the dog, let's kill it, they run over the road. But what do they do? What do they eat? What is their role in the ecosystem? When you start to consider that, you understand problems. And the problems that I've been made aware of is people in the east, that Twin City, the more recent developments, they're having serious problems with mole crickets and creatures that dig and burrow in the garden and the lawn. And they called me, what can we do about this? I said, well, you're supposed to have lizards around. Well, we haven't seen that in years. So our activity to curb one pest sometimes results in eliminating a predator, and then the other pests now take over. So one lady showed me a picture of a front lawn, and it was scary. And she said, it just happens, you fix it back, and it happens in a week. Nothing, no creatures around, no frogs, no lizards, because if you're spraying chemicals, these animals will die out or move along. And the end result is the smaller pests come back and they wreak havoc. So simple things like that we know, nobody really cares, and you're not going to see anybody holding a sign saying save these annually. But they play an important role in our ecosystem. They help out farmers, they help the hobbyists and the people who are into the plants and horticulture. They're just an important part of our ecosystem. And with them gone, we're going to see the ill effects with their absence.
Yeah. Well said, Ricardo. Every living creature plays their particular role. In the seconds that remain, what's your last message, your message you want to drive home on this World Wildlife Day?
Well, besides wishing everybody in Trinidad and Tobago and wider community in the world happy World Wildlife Day, remember the wildlife isn't just the animals. Animals, like you said, the flora and the fauna. The plants are important because the plants are who set the basis and the foundation for our good living here in Trinidad and Tobago. And it's a good time to appreciate how lucky we are here in Trinidad and Tobago. We have established already registered 500 species of birds right here. That's an amazing milestone. And it's going to go up beyond that. We have so many species of trees here. You know, there's so much going on in this country that makes it beautiful. Right now, I am actually on work in Guayagari, sitting pretty much by the seaside, you know, looking out there as work goes on. We're developing the oil and gas industry, and we have to find a way to do what we need to do, but preserve what we have to preserve.
Well, Ricardo.
And our wildlife, our nature, is what is most important for us. Being able to enjoy the beaches and the rivers and the fresh air and the liming outside and all of that. Well, so do your part, people.
Ricardo.
We all have a part to play in preserving biodiversity because that is about preserving our future. You don't have to like animals. You don't have to like trees. You have to like yourself.
Well said, Ricardo. On that note, we will, make our exit. Great conversation there. Let's always keep wildlife top of mind, and understand that we want the generations to come to also enjoy it, the same way we would have had a chance to enjoy it. With that being said, be safe. Godspeed. I'm back for more tomorrow, and stay tuned in because we will give you details concerning this recent state of emergency. You'll get all the details via our social media feeds and our 12 and 7 p.m. newscast. Have a great day, TNT.
The Morning Brew is brought to you by Omega XL. Live long, stay strong.